Okay. Hello. Welcome everybody to another week of HHC Heroes in a Half Court. This is our 9th episode. We're live with you guys on a Sunday morning, Super Bowl Sunday actually. So we'll get you guys right for some Spurs basketball talk and set you up, and then you can switch your gears back over to NFL and go finish the season off with whoever you're rooting for. We'll get some predictions from the guys a little bit later. Really fun week of Spurs basketball this week. I felt like we did learn a lot about our squad, but at the same time, we have more questions now all of a sudden. So, anyways, I'm here with my brother Jake. I'm here with my brother Josh. Jake, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. A little happy from this last game, but I'm ready to talk about Spurs basketball.
Yeah. Josh, how you feeling?
Oh, yeah. Last week I was a little under the weather, but I'm all right now. So we'll give it a go.
Good. Yeah, we're glad to have you back. It's good to have the little three-man weave when we talk Spurs. Alrighty, guys. So before we jump in, just a quick reminder, we do go live every Sunday on our YouTube channel, on our Facebook account, and through Twitch on Periscope. So if you are, now that the NFL season is coming to an end after today, and if you're one of those people who like to give football your whole attention and then now you're ready to switch over to basketball, well, you can still have a Sunday routine, but now we'll just be part of it, hopefully. So follow us on any of those accounts, and you'll see us go live every Sunday. You'll also see us do some shorter videos throughout the week, and then we do have some ideas for future video projects. So just keep your eyes out for those things. And then if you are if you're part of on Twitter, you can give us a like on our Twitter account at Heroes Half Court. We do some tweeting during the Spurs games, just sprinkled throughout the week. So we're starting to get our foot out there a little bit more. So go ahead and give us a like if you give us a share, give us a follow, give us a view if you're into some of the things that we talk about. So. All right, guys. So we're gonna jump right in. We'll start by previewing. We had a pretty short week this week. We had a long week last week, and then we had only a few games this week. We had 3 games that we'll kind of preview. One game which finished out our season series against Memphis Grizzlies. A game that we finished out our season series against Minnesota Timberwolves, and then last night where we finished our season series against the Houston Rockets. So we did a lot of finishing of those series. So a lot of good things to talk about in terms of how you guys felt we did against those teams, what their wins or losses mean for us moving forward in the West, and all that good stuff. And then we'll switch gears and start to preview guys for what's coming next for this upcoming week. So all right, Jake. With that being said, you can kind of give us your overall. So do you want to start us off game by game, and then we'll throw in some of these topics?
I'd actually I feel like it worked a little bit better if we just kind of talk about the week as a whole instead of
sure. So then
it was a short week anyways.
It was. So Jake, since you normally kind of pull up the stats or anything like that, if ever you need to or you want to, go ahead and bring them up if they tie into your talk at all. So then let me just ask the question this way then: what were your overall thoughts of our week?
For me, it was very rocky. Obviously, the first game of the week, it was a loss, and it was not a pretty loss. We took a very bad loss against Memphis. I have to remember what the Reddit Spurs said on Twitter, that they just had our number, and I can't really argue with that. We were not hitting our shots; they were hitting everything, and I feel like maybe you could tell that they were kind of getting in our heads. They just had the momentum the entire time, but It just wasn't pretty. And so then coming into the Minnesota game, at the beginning of it, I wasn't happy with it either. I was like, oh my goodness. I can't believe we're losing to one of the worst teams in the league right now. We got to pick it up. And eventually we were able to get that comeback win, which made me happy, but still a little concerned. And then the Houston game made me feel a little bit better. So overall, it was rocky for me. It wasn't exactly a smooth trail. Like everything just felt up and down, and like some of it was happy, some of it was frustrating. Honestly, I'd like to say that most of it was frustrating because I didn't really we had that Houston game, but at the same time, there's a couple things during that too that I'm like, oh my goodness, we cannot be losing leads like this, right? So it's just like overall feeling is a little bit of frustration, but there are a couple smooth spots in there that maybe we can shine some spotlight on later.
Cool. All right, Josh. Same kind of question. Overall thoughts for this week.
I mean, yeah, going what Jake said, it was hard to watch those back-to-back games in Memphis. Like they whipped our ass and all assets of the game. It was kind of horrible to watch. And then same thing for Minnesota. We started off slow. Luckily, DeMar pulled us out back-to-back games as far as Minnesota and Houston. But yeah, I mean, we're gonna go through those times during the season, so it sucks that we have to watch it and go through it. But I mean, hopefully the guys learn from it and some good things come from those bad losses that we take like that. But I mean, to go on positive, 2-1 throughout the week, it's still okay for me. It was better than losing all those games, I guess, especially that Minnesota one. That would have been a horrible loss. And even Houston, because they're short Christian Wood, and they saw that, you know what I mean? They missed that guy. So, all in all, good week for us, 2-1, but obviously a lot of things to improve on.
Yeah, I think I would agree in the sense that it is a little bit more not taxing, but it takes a little bit more out of you to watch some of these games, those long drawn out ones, especially when you know that there are it's like it's a close game, but you know that there are plays along the way as you're watching the game. You're like, dang, if we could have had that one. Dang, if we could have had that one. It takes us out of those positions. So I understand what you guys are saying about that, but I think I slide a little bit more like where Josh is kind of leaning more towards the positive. We're now entering we've crossed the quarter mark, so we're in it now. We're like in the middle of the fight, so there's times where it looks a little slow or sluggish or tired, and so it was a long 3 games, but I do err on the side of we got two out of the 3 in terms of the wins. I was disappointed with the Memphis game overall, but I'll be honest. I think I mentioned to you guys last night. That was the one game so far this year that I did not watch, which is when we got spanked a little bit. So maybe that's why I'm a little bit more positive, is because I saw the reactions to us getting to
watch it.
Yeah, I saw the reactions to us getting spanked, and I was like, normally like there's a few games where I haven't been able to catch the beginning, so I'll come and I'll jump in, or even if I only get a chance to sparingly watch it, I'll still go back and try to watch some later. And I just said, nah, I'm gonna skip that game. We're not gonna come back to that one because then maybe I'll be like,
Tennessee, man. There was nothing.
Yeah, exactly. So then maybe I'll be maybe I would be a little bit more towards the like having some concerns or whatever. But yeah, like you said, if we can scrape out 2 wins, out of that
week that we didn't play good,
Yeah, on a that's just how things are going to go. There's going to be many times throughout the season where things aren't going your way, and you can still win those games. You know what I mean? So I'm glad that we were able to do that. So all right, well, some of the big things that kind of shaped our week. One of them is kind of a bleed over from last week, right? Which is that we got Derek White back from his injury, and so we're starting to see more and more of like not just him where Pop is going to put him, but also him just in general of getting his legs, getting his rhythm, starting to find some of the things that some of the good things that we saw from him in the bubble and last year and stuff like that. I feel like we're starting to see more of those kind of things. So I don't know. Let's kind of start there, if you guys don't mind. With Derek White, like what are your overall opinions on just like how he's starting to come into his playing shape?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jake.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly like that first game back that we had against Memphis. Like he showed that like, yes, it's gonna take a little bit of time. There were still a couple things that like he was a little slow to get to, even though he's playing smart, like maybe like his mind can be going at the rate that he needs it to be, but his body just isn't catching up just yet because he just hasn't played as much basketball. And I think there was a couple times throughout like this week that you could kind of see that, but eventually like it's all like it looks like it's pretty much just coming together quickly for him. and that like, we're gonna have just another high IQ player like just in our rotations that's just gonna make it look even better for us. And so I mean like I think that like maybe we give him like another week of just still kind of like steadily getting back to his pace, but then eventually we're gonna see Derek right back at tip top shape, and he's gonna be honestly it looked like he's playing even better than he's been like since the bubble. So I'm excited for that.
I agree. He always plays kind of at a real calm pace, but now just man, it feels so much better when you see him play at a calm pace and he's missing. It feels a little bit like he's revving up, but when you see him play at the calm pace and he's hitting shots, then you're like, oh man, okay, good. Like it makes at least me. I was like, you start to see all the different situations that we have had so far where we would have needed him or needed a play like that. And you're like, okay, good. I'm so glad that we're going to have somebody like this moving forward. Josh, same thing. What'd you see from Derek this week?
I mean, to me, he hasn't missed a step since the bubble week. He came back. You saw what he did in his first game back. And this week, he's just proved that I don't think he needed any warm-up time at all. I felt like he jumped right back into it. As far as basketball shape, like last night, he played, I think, like close to 30 minutes, 29 minutes. So maybe Pop lifted that minute restriction already. And what has he played? 3 games back. So like, he's playing really good, and he's only going to get better, as the season goes on. So, I mean, I really don't have much to say because he's looked great to me. You know what I mean?
He has looked great. I will say this is like a real nitpicky thing, but I think maybe just because he had 2 injuries and they were both to his legs and his feet. It's starting to like, I'm noticing more about how much he runs like with his toes into the ground. You know what I mean? Like when he runs
on his tippy toes.
Yeah, he runs. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so
that's kind of a weird observation.
I'm just well, it's when he misses 2 weeks from breaking his toe or whatever. Yeah, maybe that's something that like I just start to see it differently now. So I'm wondering, when it comes to pro athletes, you always hear when they go out for big injuries and they come back, they're like, I had to totally restructure the way that I walk, right? And it's true. Like it's like when they break down their shooting mechanism all the way down to its basic thing so that they can tweak little parts of it. They do that it's because they get paid millions of dollars to use their body, so they go that deep. So I'm wondering if that is in his future of like somebody being like, hey, we're gonna change the way that you land on your feet a little bit so that we can maybe take some impact away from those parts that you've kind of had some trouble with. So I don't know, just something that I've started to see more when I see him run. He does dig those toes into the ground a lot, what I mean? And in a collision sport or in a high contact sport in terms of just like, not necessarily bodies, but feet on the ground, jumping and running and planting and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. Anyways, a little side note. Speaking of Derek White though, Derek White's coming back also kind of bled in a little bit to like Lonnie Walker took a step back because of he missed a game this last game. And so, it just keeps bringing up that we've been rotating around these same kind of topics as the season goes on. We kind of have these themes that keep pushing themselves to the top, right? And so, we're just gonna bring this up again, which is like, should Derek White? I guess we should ask like, did you like Derek White in the starting lineup last night? Do you like what the obviously this is going to be a slightly skewed answer because we don't have Lonnie Walker in there. So, but it's like, do you like what the bench would look like without Derek? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Does anybody have any opinions on Derek being in the starting lineup or not?
I'll let Josh go first on this one.
Okay. Like, obviously, defensively, it's great, right? You throw Derek, you throw DJ out there at the 1 and the 2. And like, I know a lot of people want that, but no, this guy should not be starting. Not because he's not capable of starting, but just because he runs that second unit so much better. And that's just what we need. And I feel like last night we started the game off great, like defensively, but like as the game went on, you could see that we missed him in the second unit. Like, and that's just, I feel like as much as Jake talks about like Lonnie, he's like, oh, well, he should be here because that's where he's optimized, blah, 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 blah. Like, that's Derek. Like, Derek he's a starter. Like he's a starter, but how much does that benefit us to have a starter coming off the bench like that and running your second unit?
Yeah.
Like that's where I feel like he excels in our team. Like whenever he's out there with DJ, like you understand why people want them together on the floor, but I don't think they have to start like that. That's what we need to finish with, in my mind, not starting, because Derek can get the other guys involved. Like DeMar can get his shot, DJ can get his shot. You know, like they can get themselves going. Like I feel like Derek needs to get those other guys going on the bench. Like he gets easy shots for Yak. You know what I mean? Like those pick and rolls, he makes the right pass. But like he could put Patty in a spot. Like those are good things that he does, and he can create his own. You know, when he needs to. So I feel like as nice it is to have him starting, I feel like it's just better with him on the bench.
Yeah. Jake, I think you might be similar.
Yeah. So just to preface this, that like I agree that I think that Derek should be on the bench, because I've laid out multiple times that if Derek's on the bench with Lonnie, that like I think that that 1-2 punch off the bench would just be amazing. I think that Lonnie's spark plug plus Derek's calm collectedness and being able to bring everybody like involved in the offense all together, I think all of that works really well. But just for argument's sake, just to kind of like bring another idea to the table, I think that another thing that could work is if we kind of ran Derek in the starting lineup and on the bench, you know, like if we kind of, because the way that I see it, like I think Derek's a way better off-ball player than Lonnie. I think that like he, even though he can involve the offense, he flows in the offense way better than Lonnie does. And so it's like, if Derek's out there starting, he doesn't have to have the ball in his hand. He doesn't have to be running up and down the court all the time, like how DJ and DeMar might be doing. But he can still start off and still bring a little bit of just like solid off ball, solid IQ plays that Lonnie just can't bring in the starting lineup at the moment. You know, obviously Lonnie's still learning, still building up. But if we do that, and then finally here comes in the second unit, and instead of DeMar running with the second unit, we have Derek running with the second unit like that. Derek's involved in the offense, making them all feel better. But then, even though Derek does have the ball in his hands, it's still a little bit of a like his load that he has to carry isn't as high, because on one side he's the off-ball player who's just kind of like running off screens and getting nice pick passes or seeing an open shot and just taking it. And then on the other hand, he has the ball in his hand, but he also has people who can like also have the ball in their hands to kind of work with them. You know, like I always feel like Lonnie is the best whenever he has the ball in his hands. So that's definitely going to be taking some touches away from Derek if they're both running in the 1-2 at the on that bench, right? So it's like if Derek can run that first quarter and give us a great first quarter push, then one, it brings a little bit of the load off of DeMar. DeMar doesn't have to run those first 8 to 10 minutes in the first quarter. And then it makes him be able to close a little bit better, because maybe he's not as gassed at the end of a game, right? And then like if Derek has the hot hand, I want Derek closing, obviously. Like I'd love to see a closing lineup of DJ, Derek, DeMar, and then whoever we have at the 4-5, right? But that's the whole point of us having such an intangible, such a versatile lineup, is that Derek doesn't have to close all the time if we have a hot hand. And you know, like let's just say Patty's going off for 26, you know. Patty goes off, Patty does his thing. All right, now Patty's in that closing lineup instead of Derek, just because Patty has the hot hand for the game, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
and there still is room on the floor. Like if let's say Derek's also having a really good game defensively, well, maybe you slide him in at the 3 at the closing lineup or whatever. And
exactly. And so I don't think I obviously right now, just because like I said, I think in my eyes that he's still kind of picking it back up, still trying to catch up to the NBA like what's the word here? Just like
Speed.
Speed,
pretty
yeah.
much, right? Just like getting himself back into the way that we play constantly, right? But once he is back, once he is healthy, fully healthy and ready to go, I feel like that's perfect. I feel like that could work with him to be able to kind of make all of our guys not feel like they have to be in and out all the time, but it's just like a solid set rotation, you know?
Yeah, I do like the idea. Last week we had talked about DeMar being that bleed guy, right? Who bleeds from the first into the second unit, and we had contemplated or speculated and talked about the idea of having Lonnie Walker take that position and be a bleed guy a little bit. And so now it's cool to now consider, well, what if Derek White is that bleed guy? You know what I mean? In a different reason. And okay, so I mean, I could see a little bit of that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that means like that he's playing the entire first quarter. You know what I mean? Are we having him sit some minutes? Yeah. I'm not sure exactly what that would look like all the way ironed out, but I could see that happening. I think I am in agreement with you that I think that with y'all that, yeah, if we can have him on the bench, I think that provides our best opportunity to just have good, solid, fundamental basketball starting from our playmaker, DeJounte and Derek White more often than not. You know what I mean? That's my biggest thing is, yeah, we love to see Derek and DeJounte together, but I think that they're just stronger. We are stronger when they get a chance to spread that out a little bit. So yeah, I would put him there on the second unit too. And I honestly, it's been kind of crazy to see a little bit of like the Spurs Twitter side of things. That was a pretty active conversation this week too about Lonnie Walker coming to the bench, but I think a lot of people still like we, or specifically like Jake's been kind of talking about Walker being on the bench pretty much all year, but now even though most people are starting to come around to that, I still think more people, when I listen to the rumblings, it still sounds like more people want Derek White on the starting unit. But I think all three of us would say that we want him with Lonnie on the bench. Like, I don't think it has to be either or, you know what I mean? But I think I don't know, maybe it's because we have so many guards. The want is to have four of them out there at the you know what I mean, like on the court, and one big, I guess. And maybe, right. And it's probably just because we have been going so long with not really giving Trey a lot of minutes, not really giving a lot of our bigs minutes. So you can see ourselves like, well, I guess we're just going to go with like, Vassell or Keldon at the 4 or something like that, right? So I can see where people's heads are at, but at the same time, I think we are going a little bit more traditional. So then I think we talked a little bit about this last night. So let's say well, Josh, would you be okay for having Lonnie and Derek on the bench?
Like I said, the only way that I'm sitting Lonnie, it's like when you go a whole season watching Bryn and Marco play, like
you're willing to just let Lonnie struggle on the bench more, or out on the starting unit.
Yeah,
you're waiting,
because like you talk about Derek, and you guys got he's closer to DeMar's age than he is to Lonnie's age. You know what I mean? Like he's way older than those guys. Mm-hmm. Like let those guys, like we went through a whole season watching Bryn out there. Like I'm willing to give Lonnie a whole season and let him come back next year, because he's only going to get better. Yeah, he's only going to figure it out.
But if we're not,
we need to let them figure it out. Like we need to let them figure it out. Like last year we were letting, I don't even know if we were letting Bryn figure it out. I don't know what the hell we were doing last year, but we were just losing. Like this, we have a winning record. A lot of those negative comments were coming after back-to-back losses where Dylan Brooks like killed DeMar, killed everybody. You know what I mean? He made everybody look stupid. Like, and it wasn't just Lonnie. Like the whole team struggled. Nobody talked about sitting DeMar when that guy was garbage back-to-back games. Obviously, he bounced back two 30-point games, but DeMar played horrible. They made him look horrible.
But I don't think that we're talking about Lonnie Walker being benched as a punishment, but just more of Lonnie Walker being moved into a place like
No,
just
no,
like
no. But I was just talking about the rum. You know how you were saying
yeah, yeah, yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's like
yeah.
everybody was frustrated after back to back bad losses.
Well,
Like that's and then like I was noticing like on the Twitter, just looking around, like a lot of people were like finding something to
negative against
negative, just because we were coming off back to back losses. You know, like they were
yeah.
looking for something, and I feel like we can't do that. We can't get so low on these games because it's like Jake said, like they had our number. Like for whatever reason, they were killing us like in every single like.
And matter of fact, like
You know what I
last
mean?
week and this week are kind of good reminders about like the Spurs always talk about not getting too high and too low and all that kind of stuff, right? Like those are common
Yeah.
phrases you hear all the time as a Spurs fan. Well, last week was a great example of that, going from like third or fourth in the West on one night to going exactly, right? Like and I think everybody should keep that in mind. Like if everybody keeps playing the way that they're doing, it's gonna be a battle. It's gonna be a jump from 4 to 12 and 13. Probably until about March or April. I would say like as the months go on, you'll start to see little bits of more definition, right? Where you're like, okay, now I can start to see like seeds 4 through like 7 kind of staying in one group, and then like 8, 9, and 10, 11 are now going to start to be that secondary group that are fighting for those spots. Like you'll start to see more of that. And I know on our channel we haven't talked a lot of standings and stuff, but I think that's just because it's so up and down. Like, we can talk about how the Spurs are 4th, but who cares? Tomorrow they'll be 9th, or whatever. It's so we'll definitely get a chance to see more of that. And I agree with what you're saying about like we shouldn't be too reactionary, but I don't think that like me or Jake are coming from that point of view of like Lonnie should be on the bench. I think it is more of the same exact way of the way that you're saying like we should have Derek White be on the bench to maximize. It's like literally, I think we're both saying like literally the exact same thing for Lonnie. It's like
it's just hard. It's just hard to say to like if Lonnie's gonna be on the bench, somebody's gonna have to be in the starting lineup. And I don't think I wouldn't pick anybody over Lonnie right now. Or unless I said Trey, and I don't feel like.
So okay, well,
we haven't
so real quick
from any of those guys to throw them starting either. You know.
Well, okay, so this kind of bleeds into our next kind of theme of the week because I was super excited that we got Derek White back because I felt like it was going to start to solidify what our team is, right? And now we can start to move forward and really start to refine our skills, get better as a team, and build to whatever it is that we're going to be as we approach like when it matters, like playoff time or whatever. But then like as soon as that happened, LaMarcus Aldridge goes out and he has to miss a few games, right? Mm-hmm. So we keep getting these themes that keep popping up, right? So again, it's like it felt like we're right back to the same place because we got some pretty decent showings from Trey Lyles, we got some good showing from Drew Eubanks, and then we got even though he's been playing all year, we got a pretty solid week from Jakob as well. So the theme kind of now switches again. You're saying about like, well, I wouldn't put Lonnie on the bench unless I moved like somebody like Trey up. Well, with LA being out, we're kind of starting to answer those same questions again of like, do we like how we look when we don't have LA out there? Can we run Trey Lyles and Jakob or somebody like that? You know what I mean? And be successful, right? So let's say we do put Trey back in there. Trey got one. To me, it felt like Trey got one game and Drew got one game. Like that's kind of what the coaching staff did, is like, all right, here's your shot. All right, now here's your shot, right? Between the two games we had this past week. Yeah, and they both had really good games. Jake had some stuff to say about Trey and his Wolves performance. Matter of fact, Jake, if you want to throw in any opinions that you have over Trey and Drew, go ahead.
Yeah, real quick, I do just want to say that like I think it was kind of unfortunate. Not necessarily unfortunate. Rudy had a good night, but I don't think Trey was able to get those minutes just because Rudy was back in the lineup for Houston.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
He did have a good night, but I think I really would have liked to have seen a 2-game stint of seeing what our lineups would have been like with Trey instead of seeing what our lineups would have looked like with not without Trey, right?
Yeah.
But still, like that Wolves performance that I watched, like I said before, like I was very frustrated throughout the game, but there were smooth spots. Trey was a very solid, like what he did out there is very solid, and we'll go ahead and kind of move on to what they can bring to the table, right?
Yeah.
But so Trey really did he didn't do like crazy, right? Because he's not a superstar. He's not an all-star, right? He was he hadn't played really at all many seasons, and we finally just kind of throw him out there, right? But I'll go ahead and let me go ahead and show the good old box score real quick, just so I can show y'all the stats, right?
Yeah.
But Trey went out there 13 solid minutes and got us 3 for 4 shooting, 1 for 2 for 3, 2 boards, and 2 assists with 9 points. Like it's not like we asked him to go out there and be crazy, but he still went out there, played what he could, and figured out the opportunities that he could see. The only basket that, like, the one basket that he didn't make was the one basket where he just had poor positioning. He was like, his back was under the rim, and it just didn't look like a pretty shot at all. But other than that, like Trey was out there.
I think he got fouled on that shot too, right?
I think so, maybe.
Yeah,
but either way, like I mean, the only things that, like, there wasn't really much that Trey in the limited time that he got, and he said it too after the game that he felt like that he showed a solid performance, and I think he did. I think he really showed me, at least, that we can definitely replace Rudy. Not to say that we want to replace Rudy, but we could definitely replace Rudy with him next year. And I think maybe that's what our team's waiting for. Maybe that's what we're like, all right, Trey, we're just gonna kind of wait until Rudy walks.
Yeah, because I mean, we re-signed him, so it's not like, you know what I mean. Like we like what he brings, and they probably have a plan for him in the future.
Exactly, and like
what
when
was
I
his
think
deal? Do y'all
about
know
it,
what his deal was?
What do you mean?
I can tell you right now.
Yeah, go ahead, Jake.
And
yeah,
so,
I agree, Jake. He did have a pretty he did do a good job of finding those opportunities. I just want him to get more and I know what you said, you know, he's not an all-star, so it's not like you're expecting him to show out offensively, but I have seen him, you know, just be in better rhythm, I guess. So I just want, you know, I'm like, all right, man, I want you to have time in the gym to go find your shooting stroke and everything like that. Like,
yeah. And those 13 minutes were like late too. Those were like meaningful minutes, 13 meaningful minutes. You know what I mean? Like, they were good minutes.
Yeah, I feel like I think because of Trey's size and his speed, it's so versatile, because like I'd like to say he's probably a little bit faster than Rudy. At least that's like what it looks like. I feel like Rudy can be a little bit quicker at times, right? But
yeah,
I feel like he's a little bit faster than Rudy, a little bit bigger. But Rudy is just a vet. He just has that vet presence and is a little bit of an enforcer on the defensive end. And so I'd honestly say that their overall like talent, their overall impact is kind of the same, but it's just on different aspects of the game on both sides. So it's like, we'll pick your poison. And right now, what we're choosing is to go with the vet. That Rudy has been a little on and off, but for the most part, I'd like to say that he's been a solid little positive on our bench this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the second Rudy walks, or we haven't really talked about, we've only really talked about like trading like DeMar and LaMarcus, but I guess like if some team says that they want to give us like a late first rounder for Rudy Gay, like, would y'all be opposed to that? At the trade deadline?
I mean, I'll be honest. I kind of feel like the Spurs. I don't know if I would say my first reaction doesn't come necessarily from me, but I feel like the organization is, like you said, okay with riding with the vet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also, like, you know, you're talking about how like Rudy kind of demands a little bit more of the ball in his hands to get in terms of getting to his spots. He doesn't necessarily get right to his spots when he doesn't have the ball. You know what I mean? So I'm thinking in my head, like, the same way that Trey is a more of an off-ball guy, it kind of fits more in line of like, all right, we keep Rudy. Rudy can command some of that attention in terms of the offensive responsibility on the second unit. And then next year, as we're giving more bench responsibility to guys like Derek White and Lonnie Walker, we plug in a guy who doesn't need so much of those responsibilities, which is Trey Lyles. You know what I mean? So like that's kind of how I would see it. So I would be okay with riding with Patty and Rudy like the whole rest of this year.
No, yeah, and
at least that's my initial take. Now, like you said, if somebody comes up and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna give you like so and so who's also pretty good and like a good, a second rounder or two or whatever," then things might change, I guess. But
and I mean, I guess in reality that would, like you said, like the Spurs organization wouldn't say yes to that because I feel like we are a little bit more like
conservative with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I feel like we want to make sure our players are happy, kind of thing. Like if we just traded Rudy, I feel like maybe that might cause some disruption in the team and stuff like that.
And not even from a I don't want to lose the locker room, but you're trying to build consistency, you're trying to build continuity, and we've talked about it before this year, like. When we were talking preseason stuff at the beginning of like how we think that continuity is going to play a big factor in terms of who is successful this year. So I think it would be shooting ourselves in the foot a little bit if we got rid of some of that, especially like mid-season.
No, yeah, for sure. But it was all that just to kind of say that I think Trey definitely showed like the position that he can be in next year, the spot that he'll fit right in, and I've always wanted him to. I've always liked what I saw from him last year because he didn't need the ball in his hands. He played off ball. He's solid, and I think that's something that like this team desperately needs is somebody who can shoot, like who can be able to be solid on offense without needing the ball in their hands,
Yeah. And that's why I wanted him to get into his rhythm, though, because it sucks when you do see him out there and then you every now and then a play gets not drawn up, but a play falls in his lap, right, where the swing comes and it comes right to him. It's like, all right, this is the shot. Like in the flow of the offense, when you are in there, like this is what you're looking for, and then like he misses, you're like, dang. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay,
sure.
we'll see. We'll see when the next shot comes around. Who knows? Because they don't come around very often. You know what I mean? So, I want him to be successful. All right. Well, what about Eubanks? He stepped in. Jake, if you want to pull up some of his, I don't know what his stat is. His stat line's officially going to look like from the Houston game, but energy plays, man. There was no shortage on him helping us provide defense, provide energy, provide a couple good sparks when he was on the court.
Yeah, I'll hit you with the stat lines real quick on both these games because he played in Minnesota as well, and he didn't do bad in the 8 minutes that we gave him. He just had to kind of fill in that backup role. Obviously, you see that Jakob played 34 that game, so he had to pick it up a lot. Yeah. But he's had a solid 2 for 3 on with 3 boards, like, and a block, right? So that's not like, I mean, you can't ask anything more on
8
Drew,
minutes,
like, 8 minutes, and it's like one of his first games back. I think, was this his first game back, or he might have just gotten like little garbage time minutes here and there in a couple games, but like, this was a game where he had a bit of a prominent role, right?
Yeah.
And then he came in against Houston and balled out. He had 12 points, 3 boards, 3 blocks. Like, he was doing good. 4 for 4 on the free throw line. I can't ask any more from a big man.
Yeah, and I think 2 of those blocks were like back to back too, or like within the span of a couple, possessions.
Exactly. And obviously, I don't think he got fourth quarter minutes, if I can remember. But still, like, I mean, he did what he could in the 16 minutes that we gave him. He shot 4 for 6 from the field. He did the right stuff and put himself in the right positions. And I know y'all talk about him being an energy player. For me, like I like seeing the energy plays, but I'm not exactly happy seeing Drew Eubanks shoot like an out of the paint shot. And that's the only, like, those are the only things that, like, I want you to get your opportunities, man. But you also like slow your roll sometimes. Like, come on, we're asking you to be LaMarcus. We're asking you to just kind of, like you said, be an energy guy.
Yeah, but
do the
also
right
like
thing.
let me give a little bit more of like the other side of that
You
coin
got to
is
keep
like
them honest, man.
yeah,
Keep the defense
exactly.
honest.
When
You
you
have
got a
to.
guy when you got it like Eubanks, him playing more minutes tonight, it probably took Pirtle's minutes down a little bit, right? Yeah, 29 minutes for Jakob. So he's kind of in there, trying to be as best as we can, like almost like a backup five at times, right? But if Jakob gets the ball, the defense knows that he's probably not going to be taking no middies or anything like that. You know what I mean? So I
Except for
agree.
that one top of the key shot that he
Yeah.
freaking wet the
So
last week.
See,
So
he's capable,
like
dog.
you do have to do some of those. And Eubanks, his what I do like about him and what I'll try to give him some credit for is I feel like he sticks within his wheelhouse. Like you're not going to see him try to break anybody off the dribble to get a shot, but if he feels like he has that little floater in the paint, he'll take it. You know what I mean? If he feels like he's got somebody to put on his back, he'll try to get some space. So like I'm okay. I don't know. I'm okay with those because I just feel like
it's kind of nice seeing somebody be aggressive like that, other than LaMarcus as our big man, because Jakob doesn't at all.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
He scored 19 the other night, but those were just like hustle plays. They were given the right pass, and he's just dunking. Like it's nice to see him be aggressive. You know what I mean?
And actually,
Jakob
Yak did that tonight, or sorry, last night. Yak did that a couple times. I think he even had John Wall on him a couple times, and Sean Elliott was like, "Yeah, I like that." He John Wall didn't even expect him to go aggressive against him, and he did. You know what I mean? So like, I was happy to see that. But yeah, I agree. I think Eubanks finds a pretty decent balance. I do know what you're saying. There's a couple times where like he'll miss maybe like two of those hooks in a row. And then he takes like a third one, and you're like, all right, man, I don't know if I'm going to be giving you these hooks anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I know what you mean. But I enjoy his ability to try to go and relieve some of that pressure. You know what I mean? Because sometimes sometimes that shot is the product of Derek White breaking a defense down or something like that. And if that's the case, you got to take that shot. You know? What I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, I give him the respect. Like, I mean, honestly, it's really good that we have him at that 12-13 man in the rotation, because there are these nights, we don't have LaMarcus, we didn't have Lonnie this game, and so we kind of needed our 11-12 guys to kind of take those steps up, because I mean, who else is going to, right? Like, they have to, and so knowing that we have Eubanks to be able to come off the bench and be like, all right, we know, like for him, he knows that his number is not going to be called all the time, but when his number does get called, he's gonna be ready to step up to the plate and provide whatever he can. And I think I do think that I like that energy and overall tenacity that he brings, the aggressiveness that he brings to the table a whole lot more now than I did like before. I used to see him get on the court and I'd be like, who the heck is this guy?
Yeah, I was the same way, man. And I'll I speak a little bit sternly or critically of of some players sometimes, and Drew was definitely on that list. I will say that maybe even like a little bit prior to the bubble, like you see his energy all the time, but yeah, like it's just one of those things, like back when we used to have Jacques Laverne and stuff like that. Like in my opinion, it's like I like to see value. I like to see value even in the 14th and the 15th spot. Like in my opinion, it's like I don't want to see prospects or I don't want to see projects. I want to see somebody who can get somebody that can give you 5 to 6 minutes with the expectation that you're going to put them in for 2 to 3 minutes. Like that's where my head is when it comes to those people that are deep down in the bench. And maybe that's because I grew up knowing the Spurs roster was pretty solid, like 1 through 7 or something. Maybe that's why it's like I could rely on those guys. And you start to look at what can you do as a 14th man to help Tim Duncan. You know what I mean? Like maybe that's where my origin of that kind of thought process comes from. So like, yeah, I'm the same way. Like, when you see Drew come in at garbage time, you were like, I want to see more fundamentally sound things happening from this guy. But it's definitely come along over the past couple of years. And yeah, he came and earned his spot and earned his playing minutes when he went to the bubble. Like
Yeah.
everything he did was good.
And just to kind of like be on the other side of the perspective, because I've always felt like, for me, those 14, 15, maybe 13, but I've always liked at least having like 10 to 12 be like solid overall, right? I've always felt like that like 13, 14, and 15 spots should be used for the young guys that are projects, not to, like, obviously Luka's a first round pick, and at this point, like, we're gonna see what he does like later
Yep.
this Wednesday for the Austin Spurs, right? I'm very excited to go watch a couple of those
Yeah,
games
it'll be
this
a
year,
good one.
this month, to see like Trey, Luka, and a couple of our other young guys that are gonna be in the gubble, right? That's what they called it.
Yeah.
The
And
Gubble? What the heck?
yeah, the gubble, right? And so it'll be fun seeing them, seeing how they do there. But like, to have like Luka, Trey Jones in those spots, in those 14, 15, like, we have Quindary, but Quindary's always on a 2-way contract. So it's like, eventually either he's gonna leave and find like a 14, 15 position, or he's just gonna develop and get up on our roster. But we have Trey Jones and Luka secured on our team,
Mm-hmm.
So it's so for those 14, 15, I've always liked those being our projects, the guys that we want to develop. Like, Patty's not going to be on our team forever. And I love Derek and DJ, but I think, like, like, let's just say something happens to one of them, right? In 3 years time, the contract that we gave Trey Jones, usually, second round picks don't really get like the 3-year contract that Trey Jones got. We gave it to him because we want him to be, or in my eyes, that we want him to be that backup point guard of the future. In my eyes, it kind of fits the timeline of just like, all right, now here we can fit in Trey Jones in his 3rd or 4th year in the league at our backup point guard, and him take those keys right there,
Yeah, assuming that he progresses the way you want him to. Yeah,
Exactly.
I agree with that. I think I'm more specifically talking about, like, I think that there's been specific times. Again, I'll point to like Laverne, a couple times with Eubanks, and then even like a guy like Chimezi Metu. We like, in my opinion, we held on to Chimezi too long. Like, he sat at the bottom of our bench for too long, in my opinion. Like, because I just feel like we could
But-
go get better value. Like Chimezi didn't, in my opinion, Chimezi Metu never was a guy that you felt comfortable plugging in if you needed a guy. And so, in my opinion, if you have your roster, this is who you're going to battle with, and you look down your bench and you have to skip over somebody, they should be gone. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's just me. And that might be a little harsh or whatever, because some people will think that you need to develop them a little longer or whatever. But like, I understand the idea of like, you're not ready yet, but like, I don't know, like,
well,
those,
and that's why I sorry for cutting you off, but
no, you're good.
that's why, like at first, and obviously Drew has definitely like kind of changed my mind on him for sure, but like at first there are those guys that I'm like, all right, this guy's already 26, 27 years old, undrafted, and we're putting him in the lineup or like in terms of just like maybe some garbage time minutes, right? And I'm like, all right, we're putting him in the lineup when I feel like we should probably put this younger guy, like we're you're talking about Met too. Well, I feel like there were multiple times last season and the year before where it's like, man, we're throwing in Drew Eubanks when we have a young 6'8" guy who can just run the court for a couple minutes at a time.
Yeah,
like,
but
why don't we just do that?
Chimezi wasn't ready. Chimezi wasn't ready.
No, yeah, for sure. And there's a clear reason why Drew Eubanks is on our roster and why Metu isn't.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like there's a couple of guys that like when we had well, I guess we played Dante Cunningham and Pondexter a couple times.
Yeah.
But like, where it's like those guys are on our 11, 12
DeMar Carroll.
Yeah. Well, DeMar Carroll, I feel like, I don't know, that was a weird case because I feel like
that was really weird.
paid him,
and maybe I'm thinking more of like the big man, right? Because that's kind of it. Like right now we have a plethora of guards, so it's okay to have a project on your roster for like Trey Jones for a couple seasons, because the likelihood of you needing him right now is small. But
Right.
when your franchise is teetering on that line of okay, we have LA. He's been our cornerstone big for the past like 5 or 6 years, but you know that he's aging. You know that the game is shifting a different direction, and your only reserves down on the bench are Luca and Chimezi and Drew, and you know what I mean. Like in my that's where I'm like, okay, that part of our roster needs bolstering, and can we do something to bolster it? You know, like that. That's just where my head was at. But anyways, I think that Drew's done his diligence in getting himself onto the court more. And he's, I think if as we start to switch our gears now into like what the Spurs are going to be doing this next week, I think we'll be able to see more opportunities for Drew and Trey coming forward, right? So because I think the latest word we had was that LaMarcus was going to see the doctor next week. That's all they said, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think so, something like that.
So so let's assume for argument's sake, as we start to switch over to the games that we have upcoming for this week, let's guess we can just assume for now that LA is going to miss. Let's just say he's going to miss all of them. You know what I mean? I'm down with kind of going forward, at least for our talks for today, with the assumption that we're not going to have LA. Because it'll just give us more opportunities to plug in Trey and plug in Drew and kind of see, what do we think that's going to look like. So, all right, Jake. When we're looking ahead for the slate, go ahead and start to cue us up. I'm gonna take my camera off just for a second while Jake cues us up, and then I'm gonna join back in just a second. So go ahead, Jake.
Yeah. All right. Well, our first game this week is going to be against Golden State, and I believe it's a back-to-back. I think it's going to be Monday and Tuesday.
Against same, right? Golden State.
Yeah, it'll be back-to-back against Golden State. And so we already played these guys once. And
they smashed us.
They smashed us, right? Like it wasn't a pretty game. And I will say now we're not going to have LaMarcus. Chris was already talking about how we're not going to have him, and in my head that already became a net positive. Like, I mean, I was already talking so high about Trey, and then Drew showed what he could do in these Houston games that, like, man, honestly, like I feel like this game against Golden State, like, the fact that I think Drew and Jakob can kind of be a little bit better in that pick and roll situation than LaMarcus can.
And last night they played the Mavericks, right? And I believe that they have injuries, and I don't know if that's going to carry over into our games, but they were saying that they didn't have nobody over 6'7" playing.
Oh, wow.
As far as Golden State. So,
yeah,
and I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, man, if we could get that, and I don't know, what their injury situation looks like, but if we could get that going into our games, and Jakob, he needs to show up. He needs to show up big time.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll get a lot more Drew Eubanks post up hooks against those short boys.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I don't know what the ending stat line was, but I kind of want to shine some spotlight on the fact that Draymond Green went like scoreless, but still had like 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and like a couple blocks, something along the lines of that. And it definitely showed like the most Draymond Green stat ever, because he was doing everything on the court except for scoring. It was brought to notice that I talked a whole lot of trash about Draymond, and I just kept talking a lot of trash about Draymond in our Warriors preview. So I'll try to keep myself from saying how much I don't think Draymond Green's an all-star, right?
But I don't think he's ever been all-star either. I'm right there with you. I really don't.
No, I'll give praise for this Warriors team. Like, I mean, they picked it up. They've had some guys that have definitely taken a couple steps up. It's really good to see people like Andrew Wiggins actually do solid. I still hope for the best for him. I still want him to succeed wherever it is, and I don't want him to be one of those first overall picks that people go and say like, oh yeah, they should have drafted this guy instead. Like, no, I want Andrew Wiggins to be the best player from the 2014 draft. at
Yeah,
the end of the day.
but I mean, and speaking about like us having to play against him, I mean, we still need to be on our toes this whole game because how many didn't Kelly Oubre go off for another 30 something points last night? Also,
Dang,
uh,
I don't know about that.
Steph Curry goes off for 50 something and Kelly goes off for 30. They when I say they, I mean the Mavericks. The Mavericks are able to withstand that because they have a guy like Luca who can also go off. You know what I mean? And so it's like, do we have that? I mean,
Just whack fouls.
Demar has 2 back-to-back 30-point games, and neither one of them felt like he was going off. I mean, he was just very
They were just in
consistent,
the flow of the
very
offense.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, and and I'll take it. I'll take a 30-point game, however it looks. But you know how it is when you play a team like Golden State, who let's say they just hang around and then they just kind of punch you 3 times in a row at the worst time. You know what I mean? Like at the time that you don't need, or they have a good job, and Steph Curry really has a good job of feeling that moment in the fight of like, if I hit you now, it will mean more, and so I'm gonna take this shot from 40 feet because I can make it anyway. You know what I mean? So, man, these are the teams that scare me a little bit. The ones where the flash gets turned up a little bit, just because sometimes we don't match that energy, and so I don't know. We did pretty well against them. Well, not that one game. We didn't play too well against them that one game, but I don't know. How are you guys feeling in terms of our ability to kind of corral the people we need to corral and win is ultimately what we're looking for.
Yeah, well, hopefully we learn from the last game, right? And we take something positive into this one, and we could turn it around.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what they're like. I was telling Jake, I don't know what that injury situation looks like. Hopefully we are the bigger team out there, and we could utilize our size a little bit more this game and get the dub. Back-to-back games, it would be nice.
Yeah, for sure.
But we're gonna see, like you said, Chris. We gotta hold Steph, and we gotta hopefully one of those other guards don't go crazy.
Yeah, and the good thing is, we talked about the last 2 games, the Rockets and the Minnesota game. Both of them were wins, but like what I like to see is our defensive rotations looked a lot better last night against the Rockets. Yeah. When they were doing that, because it feels like nowadays it's literally like you just take a screen one direction, and then instead of swinging it like back to the top of the horn and then let them swing it over, the ball handler just pushes it all the way across the court with like a big cross court pass, and that pass has been just leaving people wide open on threes. Not just the Spurs, but kind of like a little bit from what I've seen on other teams as well. And so it was good to see like those big swing passes come around, but as soon as they touch the ball, somebody's running at them. Like it just felt like we had our heads more in line with what we needed to do. So I'm really hoping that part continues, because Steph will make you pay for that real fast. So
yeah,
but I'm feeling again, I've been my whole goal this year has been trying to take into account a little bit of our general ups and downs of the season, but really on a game to game basis, how do I feel like do we have enough to do what we need to do, and how many times are you going to have are you really going to say no, I think we're going to lose this one, you know what I mean?
Right. I mean, I think the best way that we'll be able to go about this, especially if what Josh says is true about like those injuries, is honestly like our size, and then the fact that we don't have not necessarily that it's a bad thing all the time, but like just like LaMarcus out there on that defensive end. Like, I mean, I don't if memories like serves me right, like it didn't happen a crazy amount of times as I was expecting it, but I know there were a couple times where LaMarcus gets torched on that pick and roll. So it's like the fact that he won't be there on that defensive end, it'll really help us. It'll really help us on the fact that I think that Jakob will be able to rotate a little bit better. And if we're still running Drew tomorrow, then I think he'll be able to do it even, like, I think that he's a little bit faster than Jakob is on those rotations too. So it's like I think that he might actually be able to kind of provide a bit of a strong point on that end too, especially if they don't have size, and he can just kind of be like a bigger body in the paint. Like I think it'll be solid. I think he'll be that guy that fights for the rebounds, just like we see Keldon does, just like we'll see DJ kind of try to do, and it's, like I think I saw that coming from Derek a lot too these last couple of games. So I like seeing somebody a little bit bigger than the rest of our guards to actually be in the paint fighting for a rebound. You know.
Yeah, yeah, so we had mentioned earlier when we said like what can Drew and Trey bring to the table, and that's something that I had mentioned last night when we were talking with each other was, it was good to see, in my opinion, it was good to see Drew Eubanks at the end of plays being somebody who stays back and secures a board. I think we've been used to seeing Jakob and well, really it's been like a lot of LaMarcus. Not, and I think it's by design. If I'm being honest, I think that the coaches told him not to worry about it. I think they told him to get back on defense. We need you to not be a liability running slow up the court just because you stayed back to get a board. So it was good to see Drew like hanging back and grabbing some boards, getting it up to our guards, and then sprinting back onto the other floor because he's a little, he's more mobile than LA has been. So. Yeah, I think it will be good to see how our defense. I'm excited for this next couple games because of that. If we're gonna be without LA for a little bit, well, let's just keep reopening the same questions and start to see like, do we like what we look like without a player like LaMarcus Aldridge in terms of what he brings, his skill set. I'm not trying to I don't know. I don't want to bash him because I'm not trying to say that we're better without him. And I totally understand the amount of slack we have to bring to make up for what we're losing when he's not on the court. Like I get all that, but I just want to see like what are some pros and cons to how we defend certain plays, with a guy like Drew out there or Trey out there versus a guy like LA. So that's going to be on my radar as we move forward through these next couple games.
Well, I will be the one that'll say I think that this week will show us whether or not we're gonna be better without LA or not, or like with or without LA. And I'm on the side of, hey, if I see Drew and Trey step up this week, I'm definitely gonna be having my pitchforks ready to go once I see LA back on that court.
Yeah, but I mean, so we've kind of gone in waves, right? Because we had the bubble was no LA. We started the year without him, right?
I think we started with him, right?
But
and then he got hurt.
Okay. So, but either way, it was like, so then he was there for a little bit, and then he was gone for a little bit, right? And then he was back for a little bit, and now he's gone for a little bit. So we are getting a chance to kind of see, and it sucks because the inconsistency part of it sucks for the team overall. But it is, you do get a chance to see, okay, what do we look like with and without? And at the beginning of the year, I was definitely on the side of the fence of like, we need to give LA more time to get in rhythm and then to really fairly evaluate how we like him. And I think I'm still trying to give him as much benefit of the doubt as possible. But I've definitely seen many moments out there where you just, he just is a little too slow. He's just a little too slow.
And I tried to be on that opposite side too, because we were winning games at the time. Like whenever LA was out, you look at that win-loss pool, and like having LA, I think we'd only lost like 2 games up at that point, and then without LA we lost like I think like 3 to 4. And so it was so like, yeah, like I mean, even though we can say that we don't like the way LA's out plays out there, we're getting W's. So it's like what's the what you can't argue with wins, so it's like I
definitely see I see that, but also when you got a guy like Derek White come back and we lose the first 2 games, so it's like
right and that's why like I mean, so it's for me though, like it's easier to argue whether or not a player is a good impact player through a loss or a win than it is to just say, oh well, they like, in terms of just saying like oh, I don't like the way Luka, or I guess like a better one, because the Mavericks haven't been winning games, but like I don't like the way LeBron plays, but the Lakers are like the first or second team in the West, and that's just like just to kind of bring up an example, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But compared to like if I said I don't like the way LeBron plays and they were losing games, like Like I could definitely give you an argument saying why if they were losing games compared to saying why if they were winning games, right? But the matter of the point is that like earlier in the season we were winning games with LA, and I couldn't just argue with the fact that we were winning. So now I need us to, or not that I need us to, but like I would like to see if we can actually win games, if we can actually kind of show that like LA isn't exactly the reason why we're winning games, you know? Like
Yeah.
clearly as Spurs fans, we kind of watch it and we're like, "Oh yeah, we pretty much know that he isn't," but we were still winning games with him on the court and losing games with him not on the court.
Yeah.
So we
And
need to like
and really it's like a thing of there are more than one kind of way to win a basketball game. And if one of them requires like X amount of energy and we're working so hard and we're squeaking out some wins, and the other one, maybe we can work a little less hard and have a little bit more team ball and still get wins and maybe even more wins than over here. You know what I mean? This is the side we're going to go with. So, yeah, I mean, this will be a fun week to see. And again, not to say that Drew Eubanks and Trey Lyles equals LaMarcus Aldridge. Like he's better than both of those players combined. You know what I mean? But in terms of what our team needs, if we can start to see in our head of what is the type of player we do need, you know, as we start to look for like next year and all that kind of stuff, I think that's kind of where the coaches, you know, glasses come on and start to try to evaluate, you know.
I feel like we have the guys that I feel like we have the offensive firepower to make up for LaMarcus not being there. And then I feel like with him being off the court, our guys have to work a little less hard on defense. Like if we have just somebody that's not it sucks calling him a liability all the time, but you know, it's kind of what he is, you know? So I feel like it balances itself out, you know, like we're going to have to work a little bit less hard on the defensive end because we're going to have somebody there that's going to be a okay defender. And then I feel like our guys can make up for his offense. So
yeah,
and
our spacing
it's hard. It sucks to say that, right? Because
our
is a good player,
spacing
but
goes down so much without LaMarcus, and that's something that like I try to keep in my mind.
Say that again, Jake. What goes down?
Our spacing, like the fact that Jakob's on the court instead of LaMarcus starting.
But if Trey's out there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. But and I'll give some not necessarily credit to DeMarcus, but some of those spacing issues are not his fault. Like they're young guards' fault. You know what I mean? For being in wrong places, and it's like, or if you see that the spacing's off, move, my friend. You know what I mean? Like some of those things are not his fault. But yeah, I get what you're saying. And then like Josh, when you're saying about like us being able to make up for his offense, again, I'll try to give him a little bit more credit. As like sometimes you know, I bet the coaches are put in that position of like, yes, we feel like we have the tools to make up offensively what we're going to lose, but some nights the young studs don't show up with that intensity of like, I need to make up this point on the, you know what I mean? Like they don't have that in them sometimes, or I guess we haven't been able to rely on them every single game. Whereas like if you put LA in there, first of all, he wants his shots because he's a rhythm guy, and if he can get into a rhythm, you know, he's one of the guys who can get you 30 on our team. So, you know, I can feel for the coaches in terms of like knowing when to rely on him and when to try to test to see what we can be without him, because he does bring so much to us, and our guys haven't shown 100% like they're willing to take up any kind of space that he's going to leave when he's not on the team. You know what I mean? So we're still in the transition. We're in the transition. So we'll this is, you know, it's been a good year so far. I feel like we have learned a lot about our team so far. If you think back to what we were hoping to learn from us at the beginning of the year, we have Keldon Johnson, Lonnie Walker, Derek White, DeJounte Murray, all as question marks as young guys, and then we have DeMar DeRozan, LA, Patty, Rudy as question marks as old guys, and so everybody's stories are moving forward. You know,
then you throw in the mix of all like as well as like Trey, Devin,
I kind of forgot. I forgot Vassell.
Yeah, like I definitely get what you mean there.
And so, and those guys, those not lesser players, but the more role players, those guys' fates are kind of tied directly linked into those guys that that I mentioned before. So but yeah, so it we'll continue to develop these theories and these talks of what do we think we look like better, with or without LA as we move forward. So all right, Jake, let's shift gears over to our next game. Yeah.
Right. So, obviously, just a last reiteration of just saying that we do play these guys Monday and Tuesday. This is going to be a back-to-back. So it's going to be a fun little matchup. I personally, honestly, I've been enjoying these like baseball type series. First of all, I'm wearing a baseball.
Exactly. Me too.
Shirt, right?
But, me too. I'm wearing a baseball style shirt too.
I've been enjoying like these little mini series in the in like the league and stuff like that. It's always fun just to kind of see like, okay, can we split? Can we just destroy these guys 2 games and then move on? Like in some aspects, like the playoffs, it kind of hurts because like, I mean, obviously I guess in terms of just like figuring out whether or not a team is better, like if you see the Lakers beat the Clippers 2 times in a row at the beginning of the season, and you're like in your mind, you're already like, all right, well, the Lakers are gonna whoop the Clippers in the playoffs. But then later down the season, you see the Clippers finally pick it up, and you're just like, you can't exactly have those regular season games for you to find the right comparisons.
Mm-hmm.
But I still like I like this way of doing these little series just because it does kind of like it does kind of tackle things bits at a time, and like now it's like after these 2 games, now we do have our finished record against the Warriors. So now the playoffs are a little bit more cemented. We can kind of see as the year goes on, instead of it always being like that race. And of course in the West, those couple seeds are always going to be changing up here or there. But towards the end, you start to see it cement itself. And I think this will kind of make it go a little bit faster, honestly, because you see series and you see where teams are up and where teams are down, and I feel like it's gonna be amazing. Like I do
like the I feel like from a coaching standpoint, it would be cool. You do get a chance to kind of compartmentalize a little bit more, where you're like, okay, we get Houston back to back. Let's really prep for them, and you get a chance to kind of put your brain in those positions too. When you're playing the Houston Rockets, let's say it's the Spurs regular season, we play them 4 times a year, but we got them like twice in the first half and twice in the second half. When you're playing the Rockets, like let's say the second time, you're not necessarily thinking about like the 4th time that you're going to play them. You know what I mean? Like you're just, you're thinking about yourself as you are in the season. But now when it's like, okay, we've played them already twice, and now we're going to have a back-to-back where we're going to go to Houston, we're going to finish out the season series. Now you can kind of think a little bit more about what that 4th game means, as well as and I know, you don't want to get ahead, but I think it does help get you just a little bit more like mental practice of that aspect of it. And if you're a team that goes to the playoffs all the time, you might think like that already. You know what I mean? Like you might already kind of have some of that. But if you're a team that is never making the playoffs, it's good to get practice like that. It's good to have the idea of, I'm going to play Boston 2 times in a row. If I lose the game, what am I going to do to try to adjust and get back on the right track against these same people? So I honestly, as we move past COVID, hopefully, for next year, I would like for things like this to stay. Now, it'll probably look a little different because they only released the first half of the schedule, right? For this year up until March or whatever, because they wanted to leave some buffer room in case they needed to cancel games or any of that kind of stuff. So it probably will look a little different next year when they do the full year and all that kind of stuff. But I would be a fan if they continue to keep some of these travel blocks where they go to New York and play New York twice, and then they'll maybe even play Brooklyn 1 or 2 times also. Like I think those are things. It's a win-win. I think it'll. It's for me as a viewer, it's a win, but also I think logistically it'll help the league.
Yeah, well, for the players, I think it's a win for the players too, because
good point.
Less travel time. You get the best. You're not getting no late night travel and they're up, in their rooms waiting for their bags to shower or whatever the case may be, right? They get to go rest up, and play right there in the same city the next day. You know what I mean? Like I feel like the overall games would be better for the NBA.
You don't have to work around that load management that a lot of players have been doing.
And Jake, if I'm a basketball player, I'll be honest, I'm a little more on board for like you were saying, like, when it comes to the end of the year, it's a playoff matchup. Okay, the Lakers swept so and so in the season series, but they played all 3 of the games in December. You know what I mean? Like how that's a little skewed. But if I'm a basketball player, I think I kind of prefer it that way. Of like, yeah, they beat us in the season series, but we've known that since 6 months ago. Like we're already ahead of that. You know what I mean? Versus like where again, like, it's 2-0 and we have a shot, or it's 2-1. Either we're gonna lose the season series 3-1 or we're gonna tie it 2-2, but we don't know that until the end of the year. I think I'm more on board of like, yeah, like you said, like let's just see it. And then we can put that in our brain of how we fared against the Lakers at this moment of time in our season. You can kind of have like more benchmarks to go back and look at as you work your way through the season. Yeah, so I'm down with that.
And I still like I honestly like instead of just making everything like a little series, I do like that it's like a mix, because obviously if we play just nothing but series throughout the entire season, like I would get bored after like the second matchup of us playing against the Grizzlies, and we'd have to play them 2 more times. Now in a playoff series, in a playoff series, that's a different story. Because
the
like
stakes.
every game, yeah, exactly, right. But in the regular season, it's like, I
So
want us to win all 4 games, but it's like
maybe
I feel a little bored.
Maybe if division matchups are 4, in conference matchups are what, like 3 maybe. I don't know. I don't really pay that. I don't dig that deep. But maybe they do divisions. We'll break them up into 2s and 2s.
Into
what
2s,
I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Have 2 second half.
But then like I'm saying that like that mix of just like, all right, literally like this, and just thinking about it. We played Houston. Now we're gonna have our series against Golden State. And then we're going to go play Atlanta, and then we can maybe start another series, or we play another game before we start another series. And I like that. I feel like that mix still kind of creates a little bit of like variety, right? Like I'm not getting bored watching us playing the same teams on a night-to-night basis in that sense,
Yeah, I agree. I like the variety. So we got two games against Golden State, and we'll continue that train of like, we need to win these because the series is wrapping up, right? We wrapped up our series with Memphis, wrapped up our series with Houston, Minnesota. So now we got Golden State. All right, Jake. So what do you want to do? You want to take us to Atlanta?
Yep. All right. So our next game is going to be on. It's actually, we're doing Monday, Tuesday, Golden State, all the way to Friday against Atlanta.
Good. So two days off. And the good thing is our Tuesday game. Well, both games against the Warriors are at home, so we'll be at home. Yeah, we'll be at home, and who knows when they travel to Atlanta? Probably not until like Thursday or Friday. So that's good. Hopefully a good little resting period.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And so, this game, it's going to be a fun matchup. Well, I guess it'll be a fun matchup. But I know a lot of people around the league have already started to kind of get tired of seeing this young guy play. For me, I'll never get tired of watching him play until it's against us, and then I'm gonna be like, all right, I'm a Trae Young hater. Just don't like the way that he plays, yada yada, right? But Trae Young, he's a superstar of this team. He is the Atlanta Hawk face, right? And I think it's gonna be a fun matchup. I feel like I always love seeing like DJ defensive highlights against the superstar young players, right? Because nobody talks about DJ, but they talk about Trae Young, they talk about Luka, they talk about I guess like Donovan Mitchell, right? Like just like those guys, right? And so then seeing DJ get those little pick passes against the young players, right? Not just like the older vets, right? Not just Kemba and like the older guys, but like seeing a young player beat a young player in that sense, right? Like it makes me be like, yeah, put some respect on my point guard's name, So it's definitely something that like I always like seeing these matchups because I always want to see how much DJ is going to step up to the plate, how much he's going to be ready for this matchup, you know.
Yeah, and he's
And
got a little bit of an advantage with the length. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So hopefully
yeah,
we can
exactly.
disturb him a little bit and not have to as aggressively chase him, because I think that's where he gets a lot of his contact fouls and all that kind of stuff. So maybe we can rely on our length a little bit to let us get back into those plays and not have to be able to avoid that contact, especially when he does that little backup thing that Jason Kidd used to do all the time. Chris Paul, that kind of but if we know that going ahead of time, so it'll be fun to see what our discipline looks like defensively.
No, yeah, for sure. And I mean, like, I think I honestly like this is a team that I haven't been keeping up with per se. Like I try to keep up with a good couple teams, but like this is just a team that like I know they're in the spotlight a lot, especially with Trae Young. Like they always get their spotlights, so they're usually a team that I just don't really pay attention to because usually like they'll pop up in my face and then I'm just like, all right, whatever.
It's easy to see in passing.
Yeah. And so then so like the only things that I could really say is that we just kind of got to watch out for obviously Trae Young, right? We're gonna need to watch out for Trae Young. We're gonna need to watch out for John Collins. And then they're two. I really like these draft picks, and I wish that like maybe they would have been able to develop on two different teams, but like seeing Cam Reddish and DeAndre Hunter, more DeAndre Hunter than Cam Reddish, but seeing them both like kind of like develop from that first year into the second year, like those guys are going to be something that it's going to be fun to see both of them develop. They both got drafted same year, and they're going to be growing up together, right? So that'll be fun to kind of see that this younger Atlanta Hawks team with a couple solid vets in Danilo Gallinari, and Rondo, right? I know. For me, it's every year. Like everybody starts to say like, "Oh, Rondo's a little washed," yada yada, right? But it's always the same thing of just like, all right, we'll wait till the playoffs. It's when Rondo always does his. It's when these last couple years, it's always when Rondo does his stuff, you know.
Or in this case, I bet most of his work so far has been in developing Trae Young. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
So
he's
still
a better player. So.
Exactly. He's still a valuable piece for sure. Is this the window where you can see like their most used lineups and all that?
I'd have to pull that up. You can give me a second real quick.
Well, it's okay, I guess. I was just curious. I will say, and if you want to do that while I'm talking, that's fine. I will say that I am excited for, we were just talking about our guards, but going back to our big man talk with like Trae and Drew and Yak too, I'm excited to see what kind of work they're going to do against Collins and Clint Capella, because we didn't talk somebody mentioned it, I think it was Josh, against the Houston game, but we didn't really dig that deep into it about the fact that they didn't have Christian Wood. And Christian Wood was a guy who burned us a lot because of his aggressiveness. He's not afraid to take anything. He has the opportunity to take them, and he's young and he's mobile and he's pretty skilled. So I mean, like he diced this up pretty well. So I'm excited to see defensively. Are we going to be able to? Collins is another guy who I haven't seen him play all that much. I definitely know his name because I feel like his name's always brought up in like trade talks with the Spurs, right? Like Spurs fans want Collins, I guess, is the thing.
Yeah. I was going to say that's somebody that I want to target.
Yeah.
Later. That's another topic for another day.
And man, I'm not gonna lie, man. I'll take Clint Capella too. I'll take both of them. But yeah. So I know I've heard his name, but this would I honestly I'm like Jake too. I haven't really watched too many Hawks games. So but I am excited to see. I feel like this is going to be a more of a challenge down low for our big men than Houston was.
Yeah, for sure.
Are we going to be up for the task in that aspect? That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the lineup real quick. All right, so this one right here. This is actually really it was showing pretty much like the starting lineup of Trae Young, Kevin Huerter, Cam Reddish, John Collins, and Clint Capella. And that makes me assume that DeAndre Hunter is out for this game, or maybe he's just out for these these last couple games, something like that. Like I said, I haven't been keeping up with them, but you can see in their most common lineups that it was Trae Young, Cam Reddish, DeAndre Hunter, John Collins, and Clint Capella. And then you can also see like their little bench that they got running. Like they do have a couple guys that have been part of these games. You see that Solomon Hill's getting rotational minutes, Rondo's getting minutes, and I really liked Chris Dunn last year. He's a solid little defensive guard. He can't necessarily shoot outside of the three, but I think like his defense and his solid playmaking ability that he brought to the table wasn't bad. And so to see that he hasn't gotten a single game this year kind of makes me question a bit. But I mean, I guess like it's just what the Hawks are doing, you know. So
yeah, they I would imagine that Rondo came and took his spot pretty straight up, right?
Yeah,
It looks like I mean,
because they both signed with Atlanta this year. Like this was both their.
Oh, okay. So when you were saying Chris Dunn, who did you see him with last year?
The Bulls.
Oh, okay.
So he was on that young Bulls team, right? And so like when he got signed by Atlanta, like my first thought was like, oh man, that's great. It's like they could either run Trae and Chris Dunn and make give Chris Dunn like the defensive responsibilities that Trae would have, or, whatever, right? To kind of like hide Trae's defense, or like in this, like he could be the bench point guard and still be able to kind of pick up and just be a solid defender off the bench for them, right? Like, I mean, that's not a what more could you ask a point guard to do like that, right? Be a defensive oriented playmaker, right? And I feel like that'd be kind of like Derek does that well, So
True.
So I was questioning to see like that he hasn't played a game and maybe he will play a game sooner or later, but still like we're gonna be looking to see like if Kevin Herter's in their starting lineup and stuff, then like they're gonna have some solid 3-point shooting all around, other than like Clint Capella, but Clint Capella is gonna be right there in the paint, and it's gonna be a tough team for us to match up with,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
This,
I feel like it's gonna be it'll be. I'm hoping that it'll be a pretty close game. We haven't had too many blowouts. I don't think that we'll have too many blowouts on the good side of like us, like really just like putting it to a team, which is, it is what it is. We're just we're a younger team.
I hope we get some of them things.
I hope that we do. I just, realistically speaking, I can see us in a lot of close games this year. You know what I mean? So, they're at like 11 and 12 or something, right in the middle of the East. We're a little bit over 500, right in the middle of the West. So, like, we're pretty evenly matched. So it'll be a good one. Definitely excited to see. Anytime that we get a chance, like you were saying, Jake, the Atlanta Hawks always seem to kind of get their shine. They get a decent amount of time like floating through the highlight reels and whatnot. So anytime that the Spurs get a chance to kind of latch on to anybody else's shine a little bit, because Spurs have to kind of fight a little extra for any attention that they're gonna get. I have Sling TV, right? And it's honestly it's not that worth it. But I was clicking on ESPN last night and I was like, I don't even watch ESPN anymore, except for when I go get my haircut or something. It's playing on a TV. And I was like, let me just put it on here on SportsCenter at late 9. Let me just see like if they even talk about the Spurs. And they went through like 2 or 3 cycles of their thing, and I was like, okay, it's just not going to happen tonight. Okay, never mind. We'll move on. Yeah. And I was like, okay, Victor Oladipo. We got
forever.
Yeah, I was like, we got John Wall, we got DeMarcus Cousins, we got DeMar DeRozan, we got like some technical fouls, maybe. I was like, we did so. There's something to throw up there on the.
There was a close game, right?
And there's a Vassell dunk. We got a couple things going. I was like,
I know, right?
If it doesn't have LaMelo in there, then they're not.
Oh my goodness, man! Bleacher Report. Those memes on Twitter have been killing me of just like everybody trashing Bleacher Report for the LaMelo stuff, and like at first I was on the side of like, yeah, well, he's building a Rookie of the Year case, like just let him be. But then I saw a couple of those things. I'm like, oh my god, Bleacher Report really just gave him a whole highlight because he held somebody down on a jump ball. Okay. All right, Bleacher Report. I was trying to defend you, but
It's like, what do you expect whenever they hand like the social media ranks to kids? You know, it's like
yeah,
that's what they
like
that's who they love.
there's
You
a
know what I mean?
there's a
Yeah.
couple of things that like here or there where I'm just like, yeah, that's cool, like that one little there's like a little play where it was at the end of the game, like the Sixers thought they won and LaMelo took it from
Oh,
Joel Embiid and hit that
hit a
three.
three,
It was a
yeah.
5-point game. That's cool. That means that's a highlight that I would, yeah, all right, I'll give it to him because it's like you're showing a
He's
young
playing hard, right?
player,
He's playing hard,
yeah,
yeah.
a young
Yeah.
player playing hard to the end of the game because he knows that there's a chance to win still. And well, all right, they did it. Or they didn't win, but like, that's fine. That's a cool little highlight. But like I said, that jump ball play where he's just holding Shake Milton down and jumps up for it, it's like you don't gotta show that, Bleacher Report. Like, come on now.
Mhm.
And then
If they're framing it correctly, like in a meme kind of way or like in a kind of poke fun kind of way, then I think that's all right. But
well, it's
No,
the
man,
point.
they're praising that guy.
It's the fact that they're giving him like a lot of media attention. And there was another meme the other day that I saw of I don't know if y'all know that it's like the one little thing of Andy from Toy Story dropping Woody saying, "I don't want to play with you anymore."
it was
Throwing
Zion,
Zion,
right?
Throwing
Yeah,
Zion.
so it was Zion, and it's like, Bleacher Report to Zion after LaMelo. I don't want to play with you anymore, and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff that kills me, man. Those are hilarious.
It's funny too, like as you get older, and Jake, you're old enough to already kind of start to see it too. But like when you pay attention to the league for like long period of time, you do start to see the sways, right? Of like
Mhm.
who the NBA is putting in their center, who is like right in their 100% in their good graces, because people always talk about like superstar calls and stuff like that, but it's like you have like the LeBron calls and then you have like the Steph calls, but when they play together against each other, you see who is really in the in the good graces 100%, right? So yeah, it's cool it's crazy to see like those switches as you move through. It'll be good. It was to be honest, man. I remember the days when it was like 2014 and going into like 15. I was like, oh my god, like Kawhi Leonard's finna start getting some superstar calls. What is this? You're like, this is gonna be so good. And then obviously we know how that turned out. But all right, well,
they had to make a whole rule for that guy, man. It makes me so mad. I hate.
All right. So as we kind of, I think we're kind of starting to wrap up already. It was 2 short weeks in a row, only 3 games, which is good. I mean, again, I'm okay with us having only 3 games to worry about for the week, especially as we're still more than a quarter of the way through, and we're having injuries and people miss time and all that kind of stuff. So the more breaks we can hit, the better. So I think it is a good time to kind of already start to wrap up our talks and start to think for the week. How do you think we're going to fare? And then we'll be out for this week. We'll give people a time to go and start getting their barbecues ready and whatnot for the Super Bowl.
Ribs and brisket for me.
Boy, bring me some.
I'm about all that.
Oh yeah, you can't drive.
Oh, you sick.
All right. We're going 3-0 this week.
Sheesh. Okay. That you said 3-0 last week, right?
I did.
So Josh said 3-0. Jake also said 3-0 last week, and then I went 2-1.
I did say 3-0 last week, and that was the only week that I thought y'all know me, like I've been the one that said, all right, we're not making the playoffs, yada yada, right? But that 1 week I was like, all right, we can win all 3 of these games, but I'm gonna have to try and be as cautious as I can, and I'm actually gonna say I'll go with 2-1. I was gonna say 1-2. I was gonna say 1-2 because I was like, in my mind, I think we're gonna split with Golden State, and then I don't know if we're gonna be able to beat this Hawks team. But when I think about it, like this, I think our bench will probably be able to. Our bench will probably be able to exploit a lot of what the Hawks deficiencies are. So I think that's what will probably edge us in that 2-1 range. I think we're still gonna split with Golden State though.
Yeah, I'll say the same. I'll say 2-1. Mainly just because I got to give credit to Golden State in a in a two, we put all that talk into the 2 game series and being able to adjust and all that kind of stuff. And, so I'll take the split with Golden State. I'll take the victory over Atlanta and finish the week on a 2-1. And again, I'll just keep saying it though. If we keep stacking weeks where we win more games than we lose, we're in a good place. You know what I mean? So 2-1's not bad at all. And, especially if we go 2-1, we add that to last week's 2-1, and now all of a sudden we're 4-2 for the past 2 weeks. Like, it's a good record. You know what I mean? So, all right. I think that's about it. A little bit of a light week this week. But we got some good we got some good talks in the first half. I think that's kind of going to be the approach to how we keep doing our talks in terms of how we break down our shows. We try to do the first half of the show to be a look backwards, and then the second half to be a look forward. But I think we're gonna maybe go a little bit away from like the when it comes to our look backwards, a little bit away from like the game by game. These are the scores, and a little bit more of like over the course of the week, we saw 2 or 3 things kind of jump out in terms of the overall themes for the week, and just kind of give our opinions on how we're gonna frame that, right? So I definitely enjoyed the talks that we had today with the big man and all that kind of stuff. We didn't give too much credit, but I do want to just give credit again to Jakob for holding it down, man. He's taken a lot of heat in terms of him being soft or the way that he chooses to try to finish around the rim. But when you're a guy, when you're on a team that has all those guards and your other big man goes out, and he's just he's been our anchor. So and kudos to him hitting those clutch free throws against Houston. Literally, like it's one of those ones where, like, let's say DeMar takes those free throws and he misses one, you're having those questions of like, dang man, like we needed you to make that, and so we needed Yak to make those free throws, and he made them. So shout out to Jakob Pertl, friend of the show, Jakob Pertl.
Right.
All right. Well, with that being said, I think that's a good way for us to kind of wrap up for the week.
Real quick.
Go ahead, Jake. Go ahead.
Super Bowl predictions. What?
Oh.
Who y'all think gonna win? Who do y'all got?
Tampa Bay's winning.
Oh.
I'm not gonna say easy, but it's just like you got to give Tom one more. Give Patty a little slap on the ass on the way out. I think Patty's gonna win a couple in his career. So yeah, right. I think Tom, this is his last. I don't know, like his last like real shot. He's getting up there. He can't play like this forever. So it would be nice to see him get one away from New England, just to give old Belichick a good one. You know what I mean?
I genuinely feel like the fact that he brought this Tampa Bay team to the Super Bowl, to me, that like I already had him as the best QB of all time.
Oh yeah,
to me, like
he's the GOAT.
To me, the fact that he did make it to the Super Bowl without New England, that should already cement to the people who are on edge. They shouldn't be, but the people who are on edge, like, that should already tell you that he is the greatest quarterback of all time. Like, I mean,
yeah, I can see that.
He doesn't need this next ring for me to say, oh yeah, for sure. Like, there's no arguments anymore. Like, he is
okay. But are you going for Tampa? Are you predicting Tampa's?
I'm going with Kansas. I'm going with Kansas.
Yeah. All that being said.
Well, no, because I'm saying that like I already think that he is the greatest.
So yeah, he's saying a Super Bowl loss today shouldn't stop you from calling him the GOAT.
Yeah, like that's what I'm trying to say. Is like I think I'm kind of rooting for Patty Mahomes. I was wearing it earlier, but I got me a good old Texas Tech shirt, so.
Oh yeah, you're so biased. I forgot. No, you can't even talk right now.
I gotta be a Pat Mahomes fan for the rest of my life, So
yeah, for those of you who don't know, Jake's going to Texas Tech, so
yeah, exactly. So I mean,
has to say that.
I gotta be a Tech fan. I gotta be repping like that now. But I mean, I think that this Kansas City team's a little bit better than Tampa Bay, but
they're scary. They're scary, man, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'm excited to see
It,
both
it's
of them.
it'll be good. Like me, and I'll give my predictions now too. Like, and you guys know, but like I'm a very casual NFL fan. I don't really pay attention that much. And this year, especially with COVID and all that kind of stuff, it was even
Oh yeah,
I paid
it was way
attention.
easier to not pay attention this
Yeah,
year.
I pay attention even less. And then on top of that, when I do pay attention, peep the colors. I usually rep the Jaguars. So and their year this, they had Dallas Cowboy level management going on this year. So
Wait.
it was
Boy, I can't believe you said that shit right now.
I know,
so
man.
it was pretty
I can't be-
it was pretty rough to like be in there. I've been pretty bitter all this year. The name of my fantasy football team was the Tampa Bay Jaguars. Because I was a little bitter about Leonard Fournette going over there, and
You got to be going for
yeah,
for-
so I'm definitely on the I want to see Leonard Fournette get a ring. I want to see Byron Leftwich get a ring as the offensive coordinator for the Bucks. Like and on top of that, like I'm being a casual NFL fan. As Tom Brady was going into like his 6th Super Bowl, 7th, 8th, like that part of his career, I think that's when people were like, enough already with this guy. And I was like, dang, he did it again. Let's go. Dang, he did it again. Let's go. So like, when watching his comeback versus the Falcons and all that kind of stuff, like just, if today ends with him just having another great drive to finish off another Super Bowl run, like I'm not gonna be mad. I'm not, I'm not gonna be one of those people that's like, dang, again. Give it to me again. Give it to me again. But if he the only thing I want, and we'll end on this. The only thing that I don't want to see is I just don't want to see I don't want to see the Chiefs like come out and spank the Bucks. I want it to be a competitive game. You know what I mean?
Me too.
during the season, it was a competitive game.
Okay,
Mhm.
I don't know. I didn't watch. I know that. I was watching some of the talks yesterday, and they were saying that that he's been pretty up and down against this iteration of the Chiefs. So I'm excited. I don't really watch football, but I'll be finding some food to throw on a fire and getting into the football spirit on the last day of the season. So
Yeah, I'd probably say that I'm not necessarily like a diehard NFL fan because especially just like there's just a couple times throughout the years where I've just been bored watching football. I am a basketball guy. That is the sport that I love watching. That I can watch my Spurs play and enjoy it, but then I can also watch Golden State play and enjoy it for a little bit. Watch Houston play, watch Dallas play, right? Like they're like those games throughout the year that I'll tune into because I am a big NBA fan. Whereas like the NFL, it's like I'll keep up with what the Cowboys doing.
yeah,
And even
you're not watching the Lions play the Redskins or something like that.
Exactly. Like I don't really want to keep up with the NFL all too much. And then even then and then I guess this is just not being a great Cowboys fan, but there'll be times where I'm just not even paying attention to the Cowboys. Like I was watching all throughout this year.
I think Josh would definitely say that means that sounds like the mark of a not good Cowboys fan.
And then Dak got hurt, and I was just like, oh, I don't want to watch anymore. And slowly but surely, I just stopped getting myself to watching football. But that's obviously why like I don't have strong opinions about it. I will say I try not to be like one of those I hate when people hear that like, oh, I'm a Cowboys fan, and then they start to assume things and say that like I'm like, this kind of a person or whatever, right? Like, cause no, I watch the Cowboys and I love the Cowboys, but I'm not an idiot. I'm not gonna say that we're always going to the Super Bowl every year, we do have the talent though. We always have the talent to be a great team, but our front office needs to be changed, in my opinion. We got to have something to change whatever is going on is a fire.
Yeah, and when we talk about we talk about NBA obviously, and we talked about like continuity and all that kind of stuff being important during a time like COVID. Well, on the flip side of that, like disorganization and any of those bad things that you have in like that is in like the core of your team gets exasperated in the time like this. And so, yeah, it's been crazy to see on the NBA side, some teams like Houston or whatever, like just kind of really implode. And so, there are some organizations in the NFL who are in similar boats. I don't know if I would put Dallas all the way there. I like to poke fun just because,
they're not there. When you look at Houston, when you look at the Houston.
Oh yeah, like what the Texans are going through. Yeah, I mean, what look at what the Redskins are going through, or the Washington football team. You know what I mean? Like the Cowboys are not in last place, but NFL as a whole has some stuff that they got to work through before they get somebody like me to like join and want to watch on a week-to-week basis. But anyways, that does it for us on Dallas Cowboy Talk today on NFL.
I also want to note my fantasy football team was called the Amari 2600 before he was on our team. So I was a fan of Amari Cooper beforehand, and I'm a huge fan of Amari Cooper now. Just want to make that out there.
You're not a Cowboys fan. I don't want to hear it.
I love my Cowboys. I love them so much. I love Amari. I love CD. I love Dak, Gallup. Zeke had a down year, but I'm hoping that next year he can kind of show that he isn't a replaceable running back like half the league says.
Yeah, well, I mean,
he showed out.
Yeah, running backs get the shaft a little bit sometimes when it comes to that. But all right, guys. Well, you've heard a little bit of our talks on some Super Bowl talk. So with that, we're gonna wrap up for today. We hope that you enjoyed. If you stopped in for just a little bit, we had some people come in sparingly throughout. So we really appreciate anybody who came in and checked us out during our live show. We appreciate anybody who came and checked us out during a replay. If you catch us on any of our small clips, we appreciate you checking us out through that way. If you, again, I'll throw it out. If you enjoy us, any of our back and forth, any of the talks that we're doing, the topics that we bring up, however, whatever kind of sticks with you, then go ahead and give us a like, give us a follow, give us a share, join in on the conversation, whether it's the replay or live. We're down to kind of keep talking Spurs. It was a long process, but I finally got our Heroes in a Half Court Facebook page to be members of the official San Antonio Spurs Facebook group, the one that they started at the beginning of the year. So I'll be trying to post a little bit more often on there as well. If Facebook is your jam and that's kind of where you get your talks in from, then we'd like to see you there too. We want to see you anywhere. There you go. So with that being said, let's Well, for that being said, we're done. So go ahead and enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy some Super Bowl Sunday. And we will be back here next Sunday, as you see down on the bottom of the screen. We'll be here next Sunday on Valentine's Day, getting you guys ready for some more Spurs ball. We'll talk about what we saw against the Warriors and Atlanta, and then we'll preview guys for what's coming next. All right. So until then, let's go ahead and get some more wins for the Spurs, and we'll see you next week. All right. So peace out. Go Spurs. Go.
All right, guys.
All right. Bye.